The combine starts now, technically, but the players don't really do their thing until later on this week. So I thought, for the people who aren't as informed about the NFL combine, I'm going to sit down, explain to you what happens, explain to you kind of what is looked at, and talk about a bunch of good things. What is up, Finn fans? Like I said, this week is the NFL Combine, and you're going to have a ton of things going on this week. Not just the Combine, but also some behind-the-scenes stuff that might already have happened, me releasing this video to you guys Tuesday morning. But I thought to myself, some people might not understand what happens at the Combine. Some people might not understand the behind-the-scenes stuff at the Combine, some possible tampering that never gets talked about because it's kind of like Vegas. What happens at the Combine stays at the Combine. So I thought I would make this video for you guys, but real quick, I do have to shout out today's sponsor, and I'm very proud to have this sponsor be a part of my channel for how long he has been, and that is Clean the World with Sean Seipler. I talk about him constantly, the things he does for people in need, whether it's third world countries, natural disasters, the homeless. That man does so much. He started this company realizing all the soap that's being wasted in hotels, taking it, repurposing it, giving it out to people of needs. He puts these kits together, does some fantastic things. Be sure to click the link in the description and check out cleantheworld.org. Sean, I am so glad to be partnered with you. So we're going to jump into this, and I'm going to talk about kind of dates first. So this Thursday at 3 p.m., we're going to have the defensive line and the linebackers going. Then Friday at 3 p.m., we have the defensive backs and tight ends, corners and safeties. Then Saturday is where everyone really pays attention. That's where, you know, the oohs and the ahs happen, because it's the bright spot of football, and it's what's protected in the NFL. And Saturday at 1 p.m. on March 2nd, we got the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the running backs, the sexy, I guess you could say, positions of the NFL. And then on Sunday, you got the big boys. At 1 p.m., you got the offensive line. Now, these guys are going to do 40-yard dashes. They're going to bench press, vertical jump, broad jump, 3-cone drill, 20-yard shuffle, 60-yard shuffle. I'll explain some of these, right? 40-yard dash is simple. Get down, you run 40 yards as fast as you can. I think the fastest is still CJ2K. It's like a 4.23, I think, is the fastest. It's off the top of my dome. I didn't really look that one up. But it's a 40-yard dash. You know, you kind of put down and then pang, and you run, plain simple. Bench press, you want to see the strength. And you bench press, I think it's 300 pounds. Again, off the top of my dome. I don't know who has the record for that. Vertical jump, you get a base. The vertical jump isn't a run into it. You plant your feet. You put your hand up. You jump, you smack the thing. So when you smack them, they move. Then you do it again and see how high you could jump. And then broad jump is when you jump into the sand and you'll see how far you can jump. 3-cone drill. I think 3-cone drill is used for quick movement. And then you got the 20-yard shuffle and the 60-yard shuffle. So there's like kind of a rough idea of some of the drills that are happening at the Combine. Some other things that are happening at the Combine. Now, I'm 90% sure that Mike McDaniel will be there. He should be there to kind of see any guys he wants, because this is the first time that he will have a first-round pick. Because if you remember, we traded our first-round pick and then we lost our first-round pick. So this is the first time, you know, he's going to have a first-round pick, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be there. Chris Greer will obviously be there. Same thing with some of the other scouts and, you know, part of that scouting department. And last year, Marino, I think a few times Marino was there, kind of looking at a few things. So I don't know if he'll be there, being that we're not really looking at a quarterback. He was there in 2020 when we were kind of deciding who we wanted as a quarterback. Some little tidbits. Actually, you know what? Before I get into the tidbits and the little secretive stuff, the Wonderlic score. So many people made such a big hoopla about the Wonderlic test. And what that is it's essentially like a competency test. And it's like, it kind of tests your assessment on things, and it tests your mental fortitude and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Well, they stopped doing it. So starting with the 2020 NFL Combine, the NFL removed the Wonderlic test from its set of assessments for NFL draft prospects during the annual event in Indianapolis. In 2022, the league revamped several of its activities in which Combine participants would partake, including some potential drills for wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and offensive line. As part of what NFL Executive Vice President Troy Vincent called an overall audit of the assessment, the league also removed the Wonderlic test. Vincent explained, frankly, it's been an outdated process. Historically, the Wonderlic test has been criticized by media outlets for various reasons, most notably because the exam's apparent irrelevance to a player's on-field success. According to Robert O'Connell of the New York Times, no statistical significant correlation between a player's Wonderlic score and his on-field performance has ever been documented. And I've had so many people, specifically people who just hated Tua from jump, from 2020. Like, I had the offseason of 2021, people are like, Tua's dumb as hell because his Wonderlic score was a 19, and that's dumb, and blah, 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 and just spewing just nonsense. And the Wonderlic score means nothing. And for the longest time, I'm so glad they got rid of it because it's so dumb. And it's so dumb because players didn't care. Like CJ Stroud, I think he took it even though they got rid of it in 2020, and he got like an 18. And he's like, I'm not a test taker. It's literally what it said. Go look it up. I'm not a test taker. I don't care. Has nothing to do with it. You have some greats, right? Randy Moss had a 12. Ray Lewis had a 13. Lamar Jackson scored a 13. Jim Kelly, 15. Dan Marino, 16. Michael Vick, 20. Derek Carr, 20. Jalen Hurts, 18. Again, Tua, 19. You got guys like Frank Gore, scored a 6. You got some guys like Bradley Chubb and all those guys who didn't even take it. They got zeros. Saquon Barkley got a 0. Like, who cares? Now, obviously, you have like some of the geniuses, right? Like Pat McAnley, a punter, got a perfect 50. He actually came out and said that hurt his ability to be drafted because of the fact that coaches don't want those extremes. You got our guy, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who got a 48. This one literally says quarterback Alabama. It doesn't even have his name. Benjamin Watson got a 48. Kevin Curtis, a wide receiver, got a 48. I'm going to start raffling off names. You're going to be like, who? Jason Mass, quarterback, got a 43. Matt Burke, offensive lineman, got a 46. But then you got like Decker in there, got a 43. Blaine Gabbert got a 42. How'd that pan out from? Drew Henson, quarterback, 42. You're like, huh? It doesn't matter. I sound like The Rock right now. It doesn't matter. So many people made such a hoopla out of this Wonderlic test. Oh, it's because he's dumb and this and that. It meant nothing. And I'm so glad they got rid of it in 2020. So that's kind of an idea of what is what's happening on the forefront at the Combine. You got the drills, you got when certain guys are playing. And I'm going to kind of recap the whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to do it day by day by day. I might, like Thursday night, I might release like who had the best day out of the defensive line and linebackers, because I'm interested in linebackers. Maybe I'll do the ones for positions that I'm interested in, like linebackers, tight ends, and offensive line. That Saturday, obviously quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs are going to be sexy. There is a wide receiver that I'm keeping an eye on because I'd like him as a number 3 option on the team. So maybe I'll recap those. But a lot of what's going on at the Combine right now is, like I said, like Vegas. What happens to the Combine stays at the Combine. Not only so you have the players there, you have the GMs there. Sometimes the owners are there. And like I said, the coaches are there. And then you have players' agents there. And if you don't think that the agents for players that are on your team or on other teams are also now taking these young prospects, you're fooling yourself. So a lot of the times these guys start chirping. Sometimes the GM We'll bump into another GM. What would you take for blah, blah, blah? Hypothetically speaking, if I were to tag and trade Christian Wilkins, what'd you give me? Well, hypothetically speaking, if you were to do that, maybe I'll give you a first and a third. Interesting. Well, it was nice talking to you, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you later. Stuff like that. Like, you can't tell me, no, that doesn't happen because it's tampering. It happens all the time. Look at Vic Fangio going to the Eagles. Straight up tampering. Or you have agents coming up. Hey, so-and-so's interested, da-da-da, this, and that. All right, I'll keep it in mind, blah, blah, blah. I'll move on. You know, they'll talk to agents on their own team. Hey, you know, like Drew Rosenhaus, who's part of a lot of players. You know, Tyreek Hill, Jerome Baker. We kind of need to shake them down a little bit. And from what I'm hearing, Jerome Baker's willing to play ball. Might have to shake him down a little bit. Listen, we need to restructure their contracts. Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead, Jalen Ramsey, and if Baker is willing to play ball, Baker, we need to shake him down. We need to restructure their contract, convert things to signing bonuses, give them extra years, yada, yada. But we need to take about, from those 4 guys, we need to get about $50 million out of them. So we need money to play with. We need to re-sign guys. We need to go out and sign guys. Like, we need some money. So a lot of this stuff is what's happening at the combine as well. Like I said, GMs are talking, even though they shouldn't. They're talking. I'm hearing you having a hard time with blah, blah, blah. Would you take a first for him, hypothetically speaking? Like, if I were to give you a first, what would you take from him? You don't think teams are talking to the Bears right now? You keeping Justin Fields? Oh, we haven't decided yet. But are you keeping Justin Fields? Well, if we weren't keeping Justin Fields, would you be interested? I don't know. Very vague stuff, so you don't get caught. That's what's happening at the combine. It's not just, you know, the underwear ball, as they like to call it, because, yeah, you can see a lot of things and you can get a lot of assessments from movements, from throws, from speed, from shuffles, you know, vertical, horizontal movement, all that stuff. But, like, Caleb Williams isn't throwing at the combine. He's not performing at the combine. He's just going to worry about his pro day. And some guys have done that. A lot of guys have actually done that. But even in 2020, when we couldn't, you just look at their tape. That's where you get a lot of the bread and butter. And you look at tape where you look at me personally, when I look at players' performances, I don't watch their best games. I watch their worst games, and I kind of try to see why things happen and were they able to bounce back and was it too late to bounce back and all this stuff. Like, you look at Tua versus LSU, he started horribly, but he started to come back and there was a lot of opportunity. He was answering calls, touchdowns, you know. And then you look at the championship game against Clemson, he had a bad game there and all that stuff. Like, that's the stuff you would look at. But this is going to be interesting. And I got a lot of videos this week, not just about the combine. Like, Omar Kelly came out with a really good article I kind of want to talk about where, you know, this is kind of it for Greer. That's not what he said, but that's what I'm going to kind of talk about. A lot of people are talking about the 4 things that Tua needs to work on. I'm going to talk about the 2 different articles that they talk about that. And I'm going to cover the combine. And then next week, we have a week until free agency. So it's going to take off because you got free agency, and then we get ready for the draft. I start breaking down draft prospects. Then we got the draft, OTAs, minicamp, and then it dies down. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys, and I might announce this again, I'm coming to training camp. Don't know which day I'm coming down because obviously we don't know when training camp is, but I'm coming to training camp. Hopefully I lose a lot of weight beforehand because if not, I will melt because I went down to the game in October and I was dying. But I will be down at training camp. I'll let you guys know what day. And I'm interested. I can't wait to meet a bunch of you guys. I'm going to vlog it and stuff. So it's going to be fun. But other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow talking about Omar Kelly's article about Chris Greer. But like usual, stay classy. My fins up.